Thank you, Jacob Seals. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Cold War Radio Live on our home base, WAAR. We are America Radio, your number one source for streaming political and government talk anywhere. I'm Hutch Bailey Jr., deep down in the bunker in my Smith & Wesson studio. And from Atlanta, Georgia, let's welcome Miss Stacy Rush to the program. Good evening, Stacy.
Good evening, Hutch Bailey Jr. How are you doing tonight?
Doing just fine. Just can't wait for these shows to come around. It seems like there's 4 days in between every one.
I know, and I'm looking forward to tonight. We get to talk about some liberal snowflakes.
We're going to
rioting in the streets. So I'm excited about tonight, and more excited about being one day closer to the Super Bowl.
That's right. We might talk about that a little too. You're not going to like what I have to say, though. It's nothing about the Falcons, but please follow me on Spreaker, ladies and gentlemen. Like the Facebook page, facebook.com/Cold War Radio, 2 A's in war. You can catch the show on Blueberry, YouTube, iHeartRadio. There's a Cold War Radio app. A couple hundred of you on there already. It's free. Go to your iTunes or Google Play Store and look up Cold War Radio. It's right there. You can chat right from the app. People are using it a lot, so they must like it. The email is scrtv@live.com. The phone number, 412-567-1460. If you'd like to join the program, the chat room is up on Spreaker. Go to steelcityresistance.blogspot.com. You can catch the show notes links there. You'll probably need them tonight. And if you can, hit the donate button off to the right-hand side. There is also a poll on there where I've asked, are you going to be watching the Super Bowl or should I do Steel City Resistance? And it's overwhelmingly I should do Steel City Resistance. There's no votes so far for watch the Super Bowl.
I won't be tuning in. I will be watching this.
No doubt in my mind. That's getting really political too. That's sad, man.
Yeah, it is.
I don't know what's wrong with those people. So anyway, take the poll. It's on the right-hand column of the website. Also on the website, I made some comments, as I usually do. If you followed me for any amount of time, you know that I follow Islam like an adult, not like a politically correct snowflake. And I made some comments, and a gentleman was watching the show, and he made some comments back, and then he put a blog post about it. And he mentioned my name in the blog post, so I had to put a blog post back on him. So if you go on to steelcityresistance.blogspot.com, if you scroll down past tonight's show, the post for tonight's show, and past my response, you can read his blog post first, and then scroll up and you can read my rebuttal, if you will. Just a little inside baseball stuff there. Let's go through some of the things that are going on. There's some crazy stuff going on, Stacy. You've got Hollywood, and you've even got the professional political class acting absolutely un-American crazy. I think what we've got right now, and I'll ask your opinion before we start getting into these instances, but I think the Democrat Party is unraveling. I think it really is. Some of the statements that I've heard in the last couple days, these people are not sane. They are absolutely just apoplectic is a word.
Yeah, I do feel like they're coming unhinged a little bit, but they've always been unhinged. I think it's just a little bit more on display now. I don't think they've gotten their bearings, not just about Trump winning the election, but I don't think that they understand how much regular Americans don't trust them, don't trust any of the news coming out of their mouths, or waking up to the fact that it's very coordinated and more like a propagandist tool. And I don't think that the left and the media really understand how much trouble they are actually in. And so they continue to get even further, I think, off track than normal, because they normally don't have to defend themselves so much or defend their position so much. So I think they've always been unhinged. I think that most Americans are just now getting the perspective because they don't have the sole source of propaganda any longer.
And you know something else? I think Stephen Bannon and Donald Trump read Rules for Radicals, because they're putting these tactics right back on them, and it's so effective. Listen to some of the things people are saying. Wake up and join the resistance. Sarah Silverman, I believe that's the woman that spoke at the DNC. I think she's kind of supposed to be a comedian or something. She's calling for a military coup to overthrow President Trump. Now, if that's not out of tune.
Well, absolutely. What military is she thinking about? Nazi Germany rising from the dead? I mean, honestly, what military does she think is going to support their ridiculous leftist ideology over Donald Trump? She's delusional.
I mean, if they snatched anybody, they'd snatch Schumer, and Pelosi. When you have a Navy SEALs unit out of Virginia Beach that was on a convoy, and one of the lead vehicle, the lead up armored Humvee, had a big giant Trump flag on it. Now that guy's going to get in trouble. All right, he is going to get in trouble. But That being said, it's there, and she thinks that, and she was the second one. I heard another was a former high-level State Department employee, Obama appointee in the State Department, that said the same thing. She said there was 3 different ways, but she added that one too. So it's absolutely ridiculous. I mean, it's first of all, the guy hasn't done anything really that's that egregious. Well, maybe to the left it is, but I don't know. I don't understand it, because you have the Rasmussen poll, and the daily presidential tracking poll for Thursday has Donald Trump at 53% this early. I mean, that's good. And we got the bag phone from New York City. Call back, Rich. I got a bad signal on you. All right, can't do that. If you're listening, Rich, give a call back. Get another cell tower or something. But yeah, he's up 53% of likely U.S. voters. He didn't even win that much, so he's winning over hearts and minds.
Right, absolutely. And I think I might have mentioned this on Wayne's show on Monday. You know, I spoke with a couple of coworkers before leaving work on Friday of last week, and they were so sick of all of the crap all over their Facebook pages, all over the news, because they both said they were in the camp of, let's give the guy a chance. And I think that's what these polls are picking up, is that they don't see anything egregious that he's done, and he is winning over hearts and minds because he's actually doing things. I mean, I think that that's another thing that's going to be a real positive of his administration, is that people are going to see that government actually can get stuff done if they are working for the American people.
And they're going to have to multitask too. I mean, Paul Ryan comes out and says they're going to have to push the tax reform down the road. No, Paul, you're going to have to work some longer hours, and you're going to have to multitask, and you're going to have to get this stuff done, because if you don't, he's going to point out who the roadblock is.
Absolutely.
And if you're going to be the roadblock, your name's going to be all over it. You're going to own it. It's about getting things done. This is the first president that has ever fulfilled campaign promises in real time the way he's doing. People are spinning. Big Rich from New York City. What's going on? What's on your mind tonight?
Good evening, Stacey. Good evening, Hutch.
Good evening, Big Rich. How you doing?
Good. Hutch, I was reading something that has me a little disturbing regarding that Navy SEAL mission that got killed.
Yeah.
According to the article, they're trying to say that somebody from the White House tipped off that the SEALs were heading their way, and they were ambushed.
Well, what I read was a little different than that. It wasn't necessarily that the White House did it.
I mean, somebody that knew about the mission.
Or they could have. One of the thing that I got, and I read several articles about it. The military response was they were flying the drones too low. They had surveillance drones on this site. And how do we know? We don't know. I'm just speculating. But
yeah.
But they said that they were flying them too low to where the enemy on the ground could actually hear the engines. But then, go ahead.
Sorry. According to the article, this was an Obama mission that he stole so Trump could take handle of the mission. According to the article, and they're saying that Trump gave the okay without double checking the mission and not noticing that something was wrong with the mission. According to the article, they said when they got there, they had women, kids, with AK-47 ready. As soon as they got in there, they were getting shot at for all different locations. Like they were expecting them to get there.
Now,
it was a 50-minute firefight. I mean, it was tough. But the thing is that they knew that their combo was compromised, and they went in anyway.
Right.
They knew they were compromised. They went in, and I'll tell you this, and then I'll give it over to Stacy. If somebody did leak it, the people that are in there right now are going to find out.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And are you saying, is the indication that it was somewhat a holdout from the Obama administration that gave them the heads up?
Somebody that's there now that's leaking out stuff to the press, and somebody leaked out or sent a warning to these Taliban that the Americans were heading on their way.
Right, and
that has me scared, because they're doing that to Trump now, undermining. That has me like a little worried, because if they set Trump up, because that was set up for failure. You understand?
That's what they're trying to do. That's what they want to do.
Set up for failure, but they did not fail. You know, we did lose one man's life, and there is no replacement for that, and I understand that. But it's a testament to our wonderful military that they didn't fail. And the thing is that, you know, you have so many people that were in lockstep with Barack Obama. I have the very distinct impression there is a lot of loyalty to Trump within this administration, and they will ferret out that person, and they will be held accountable if somebody is leaking it. And
even the article was suggested it could even been Obama that tipped off these people.
Well, I hope not.
Yeah, this was his mission, and he delayed it, and he told Trump personally, "I set something up for you. Just go do what you got to do, and send it. Everything is ready for you." And according to what this man was saying, he says, soon these people got there, I mean, it's like they were waiting for them to come in, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Well, we'll look into it. We'll keep our eyes on it.
When you have a chance, try to find out something into them, baby. You know, they got so many things popping up regarding that situation that, you know, I just want to bring it up because it's been quiet. Nobody's been saying much about it. And
I'm glad you did. I forgot about it already.
And, you know, I just heard a story right before we came online from CNN. I was actually trying to listen to see how they were covering the Berkeley riots. And that was the next story that was coming up before we were getting to go online. So they were going to discuss it. I would imagine that they're going to say that, you know, whatever happened is Trump's fault, not Obama's
fault. Exactly. That's what the article said, that the death of this special force is on Trump's hands. Mm-hmm. He never read the plan, and whoever he can find it of saying go with that mission, you know, in other words, that's what it was saying, that Trump never looked at the mission. He just confined it with the person that said, okay, go ahead, go and do it, mm-hmm. without Trump, you know, looking at it before he gave you a call, and they find nothing suspicious about the mission. Mm-hmm. You know?
All right, Big Rich, got to go, buddy.
All right, thank you very much. Enjoy your...
Yeah, you know, the thing is, what I read is he went through all the proper stages. It went to Flynn, it went to everybody, and then he looked at it, and he called Madison, and then Mattis briefed him personally on it, and then he said it was a go. But we'll have to see what happens. I mean, if that did happen, the official military response, like I said, was the drones, mm-hmm. that they flew them too low. But I don't know. We'll find out. That would be, I don't know. I don't even want to think about that.
I don't like thinking about that either.
Let's say we talked about the job performance and everything, the polls. There was a prison riot in Delaware, Stacy, and they took hostages. And in the end, a guard sergeant, there was 4 hostages. 3 of them were let go, and he was killed. And then they had contact with the outside world. And I'm trying to see. Yes, we do have the contact of the prisoner calling the news station, and you're not going to believe, ladies and gentlemen, his reason for this riot and this hostage situation. Let's listen.
As the hostage situation unfolded today, inmates at the prison made contact with the outside world. They were patched through to the News Journal. It's the Delaware newspaper, and here's an excerpt of one of the calls.
We're trying to explain what our reasons is for doing what we're doing. Donald Trump everything that he did, all the things that he's doing now, we know that the institution is going to change for the worse.
The calls also mentioned the need for education and rehabilitation. Now, the call you just heard and others were turned over to police. Here's some more information about the prison where this is all unfolding. The Vaughn Correctional Center opened in 1971. It is the largest facility for men in Delaware. About 2,500 inmates are being held there right now, and it houses inmates from minimum to maximum security, along with the state's death row. Back in 2004, an inmate raped a counselor and held her hostage for almost 7 hours. That standoff ended when a sharpshooter killed the inmate. Be sure to stay with Eyewitness News as the latest comes down in all of this. We're going to have crews on location in Delaware throughout the night. When we're not here on TV.
So there you go. You have a guy, the ringleader, whoever has the authority to call the media, and he blames it on Trump. He basically says that we're going to have this riot because things are going to get so bad in here, which I translate that into, first of all, it's a state prison, so it doesn't have anything to do with Trump. So the guy's half out of his argument already. But you would say that Obama was kind to these felons, and Donald Trump's a law and order guy. But you riot because the president changes? I mean, come on, man.
Oh my God! The complete idiocy, it's spreading to the prison system, I guess. I mean, dear Lord, everything is Trump's fault. It's kind of like going back through the Obama administration 8 years later. The economy being crappy is still George Bush's fault. I mean, it's ridiculous.
I want to say something about our caller, too, that I just thought of. This is something that the Trump administration is going to have to get a handle on, especially when you're talking about the civil servants that are in D.C., because they're all liberal. I mean, they're getting them from Georgetown. They're getting them from George Washington University. These people are like Andrew Breitbart used to said, the default coming out of those schools is liberal. Mm-hmm. And that's what they are. There's 900 people in the State Department signed some kind of
we hate Donald Trump.
Yeah, pretty much. So they're going to have to get a handle, and I think they will. I do. They're going to have to defund half of these things. But let's see. It's really refreshing to see a professional like former general or retired General Michael Flynn come out and just be no nonsense. Let's listen to what he said about Iran. Now, Iran launched a ballistic missile against the agreement, and they also sent some Houthi warriors in a suicide boat against a Saudi frigate that I think they thought was a U.S. Navy ship. I don't know how they missed that flag and all that, but, they're not the brightest people. Until they blow up, then they're real bright. But let's listen to General Flynn.
There was a question on Monday regarding Iran's firing of a missile, an attack on a Navy vessel. I'd like to introduce National Security Advisor General Michael Flynn to provide a quick update. General Flynn.
Good afternoon, everyone. Recent Iranian actions involving a provocative ballistic missile launch and an attack against a Saudi naval vessel conducted by Iran-supported Houthi militants underscore what should have been clear to the international community all along about Iran's destabilizing behavior across the entire Middle East. The recent ballistic missile launch is also in defiance of UN Security Council Resolution 2231, which calls upon Iran not to undertake any activity related to ballistic missiles designed to be capable of delivering nuclear weapons, including launches using such ballistic missile technology. These are just the latest of a series of incidents in the past 6 months in which Houthi forces that Iran has trained and armed have struck Emirati and Saudi vessels and threatened United States and allied vessels transiting the Red Sea. In these and other similar activities, Iran continues to threaten U.S. friends and allies in the region. The Obama administration failed to respond adequately to Tehran's malign actions, including weapons transfers, support for terrorism, and other violations of international norms. The Trump administration condemns such actions by Iran that undermine security, prosperity, and stability throughout and beyond the Middle East, and which places American lives at risk. President Trump has severely criticized the various agreements reached between Iran and the Obama administration, as well as the United Nations, as being weak and ineffective. Instead of being thankful to the United States in these agreements, Iran is now feeling emboldened. As of today...
That clip cut out a little bit early. That was when he put Iran on notice. And Stacey, the difference between night and day is like the difference between General Flynn and Jay Clapper. I mean, the two people are so at such different ends of just the telegenic, if nothing else. Clapper looked like he just looked like a weasel. Flynn comes out there and he's concise, right to the point, and at the end he puts Iran on notice. And I apologize for the clip fading like that. Sometimes they do that.
Yeah, no, it's such a pleasure to see. I mean, not that we want to see things escalate to a point where we have to have any sort of military interaction, but it is nice to see someone deliver a message, and personally a message that I think they will follow up on, not like the faux red lines that were drawn by Barack Hussein Obama.
No, you're right. Jay from Texas, good evening. What's on your mind?
Oh, not much. You know, the media's constant propaganda is a good part of what's causing all of this. Now, it actually comes down to a man named Robert Cialdini, who, as Scott Adams has exposed time and again, is the one doing all this fear-mongering that's leading to all the violence and everything. But I do think that if Trump follows through on his promise to open the libel laws on the press, all this fear-mongering may stop.
Well, we have to tread a fine line to make sure the First Amendment's protected, but there are ways of combating this. There absolutely are, especially when falsehoods and inciting riots is present. That's a clear crime. That First Amendment doesn't protect you from that, but it would have to be very, very careful.
Well, here's the thing. What he talks about when he's saying open the libel laws isn't create a new law making it easier to sue the press. What he's saying is that the press has libel law protections that you and I don't, because they can tell the biggest lies on you and then post a retraction, and it becomes almost impossible to sue them over it. All Trump wants to do is repeal that. A repeal is very difficult to contest in court.
You wouldn't deal with it in court. You would deal with it with the Federal Communications Commission. That's how you would deal with it.
That's extremely shaky because they're an extremely controversial organization. But certainly making it easy to sue people who call you a bigot when you're not one is considerably less controversial. And I feel probably the path of least resistance on this one. Now, in the long run, we do need to go after Soros and Cialdini, but that's a long, long game. It's probably not going to be done within the next 8 years, if we're being honest.
Well, I don't know. Thanks for calling. I appreciate your opinion, Jay.
No problem.
Hickory, good evening from Florida. What's on your mind?
Well, I need to say this to Jay, that the Trump administration needs to hire Floyd Abrams then, or Abraham, or whatever his name is, a First Amendment lawyer out of New York. He's like one of the top guys on the First Amendment, which we really needs to be examined. But that's not why I called, Hutch, and good evening, Stacey.
Good evening.
When General Flynn came out, could you see the Indian blood in that man when he was talking?
Yeah.
Yeah. And here's the thing: what is the most macho culture in the world today?
Probably Islam.
I know. I was about to say.
Right. So the dumb Ayatollahs, after Reagan made the Ayatollah choke over there the first time. Now this time they say, we're not going to do that again. Well, guess what, boys? You have made a major mistake. And
I agree.
Yes. And I just love the way these big boys play. They got no moss on them. They're going to
I'll tell you what. When Rex Tillerson came out and started speaking to his employees, I thought I heard the theme song of Dallas behind him.
Me too. Yeah. I love that man.
That's Benton, Texas. That's not quite Dallas, man.
I'm talking about the TV show.
No. I'm talking about Tillerson. He's a real deal, And wouldn't it be nice to see our boys, the kids that we're raising now. Merchant seamen out there on the Esso fleet, the Exxon fleet, watching our ships.
Yeah.
There's so much we could do for ourselves, and Trump is the answer on so many levels. If anybody ever hurts him, it's not going to go well.
No, I've thought that several times, and I think that the team that he's put around him is first class.
Yeah.
I think if somebody is leaking something, they're going to find out.
Well,
Trump
see,
did it.
another thing on the leaks, too, Hutch, they could be second-guessing and doing a disinformation campaign like Heinrich did on Stalin, and Stalin purged his whole armed forces at the top levels. Mm-hmm. You just have to see.
He almost lost the war for that.
All Zelensky did was put it into modern language that some jerk college students could understand and wrap their minds around, like that bowl of mush that almost was president.
Yeah.
Which one?
Hillary Clinton.
Yeah, and Kerry and all the rest of them. Hey, thanks for calling, Hickory. I appreciate it.
God bless you all, and have a great Trump evening.
We'll see you. So yeah, it's amazing, and we're going to get into the Berkeley thing. I'm going to hit it with a little bit of a different way of looking at it than you've heard throughout the media. But the other thing I gotta tell you, this one is the worst clip that I've heard today, and I think this woman has lost her mind. I really do. I want you to listen to what the lady that was third in line for the presidency said on television today. This is Nancy Pelosi, a very powerful woman, unfortunately. But I want you to listen to what she said. This is going to levels that they're losing their minds.
Speaking of Capitol Hill, Neil, there's Paul Ryan's counterpart in the House, Nancy Pelosi. She gave some comments earlier today that were, some would say, incredibly charged. Take a listen here to Nancy Pelosi from moments ago.
What's making America less safe is to have a white supremacist named to the National Security Council as a permanent member, while the chairman of the Joint Chiefs and the director of national intelligence are told, don't call us, we'll call you. The public outcry toward the president's dangerous ban over the weekend was massive, and the president is clearly eager to shift attention away. You notice that every time something gets hot, he changes the subject. He's an illusionist.
So you probably heard it off the top there, Neil. Pelosi alluding to Steve Bannon as a, quote, white supremacist. So far, no reaction here from the White House. Neil?
I mean, stunning. When's the last time you heard any politician use the words white supremacist?
It's pathetic. She's disgusting and she's senile, but she's just as responsible as the mainstream media is in ramping up what is going on out there. She and Tim Kaine, I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous for her to throw those words around and try and put in the people's minds that Donald Trump and anyone he's surrounded with has somehow got racism on the brain. And it's she has me at a loss for words, which is not easy. I can't take her.
And Tim Kaine is telling them to fight in the streets.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this guy's lost his mind too. He looks like a drunk. Anybody want to go to my Twitter feed today? I'm at Discovering Me 40. You can tell when I found out about Judd Apatow and other people tweeting and encouraging violence, more to come. I start blaming Tim Kaine for it, asking the mainstream media when they're going to hold Hillary Clinton, Barack Obama, and Senator Tim Kaine accountable for this and ask them to denounce this violence on the street. I mean, it is if any GOP senator got out and said what Tim Kaine did 2 days ago, the mainstream media would be reporting to you 24/7 asking him to step down because he was inciting violence. I do it every time I see a Somali rapist. I blame it on Keith Ellison because he brought him in. Carrie, what's going on from Florida?
Good evening, dynamic duo. How are you all doing this evening?
Hey, Carrie.
Enjoying the show tremendously as always. I think what's important to point out to your listening audience, Mr. Bailey and Ms. Rush, is this. If there is any doubt left in your mind that there is not a globalist government, it should be removed. Because everything is happening. You just heard that dingbat say he's illusionist, he's ducking, creating another situation. Out of the mouth overflows the abundance of the heart. That's what they're doing. Isn't it funny how President Trump hasn't done anything, yet now Iran's acting up, and these riots are breaking out. He hasn't done anything except apply the law. And it's all one after another, and he's not going to respond to that racist statement because it's not true. You don't have to respond to a lie. But folks, let's be perfectly clear. We are not dealing with a handful of people like Nancy Pelosi. Nancy Pelosi is a puppet. Barack Hussein Obama was and is a puppet. Hillary Clinton is a puppet. We're dealing with a very large organization that is trying to rule the world. But that's okay, because we are the United States of America. And just as our 45th president has said, once the United States of America gets united, there is nothing, absolutely nothing, that we cannot accomplish. Thank you for your time, Dynamic Duo. You all keep up the great work. We'll talk to you later.
Thanks
for the call, Gary.
And I agree with him. And I think, as troubling as everything has been since his inauguration, with the left just continuing to ramp up the violence and the rhetoric, he's right. And I think the more they do that, the more the people, you're going to see that approval rating continue to get higher and higher and higher, and we will unite as a country.
I agree. The only people that are buying this stuff are college kids that don't know any better.
Mm-hmm.
And they'll learn too. The last thing I have in this segment is the Australia call. Obama made a deal with Australia that we would take 1,500 to 2,000 of the worst Syrian and Iraqi, Syrian, and Afghanistan refugees, and we would give them some from Central America. Trump found out about this deal and lost his mind, and apparently hung up on the guy, which I have no problem with that. Immediately, John McCain had to come out and get on the news and tell the news that, I called the ambassador to Australia and apologized for our president. I'm thinking, dude, you got to go, man. Just retire.
Well,
just leave the scene. You're horrible.
Hutch, I think you're being a little bit hard on him. He's having a senior moment. He thinks it's 2008 again, and he thinks he won the presidential election. So I think you need to lighten up. He's having a little dementia. And no, I 100% agree with you. The guy's a jerk, and it just shows you how difficult it is to defeat these incumbent, especially senators. Oh my God, it's so hard to beat one. Yeah. But that guy needs to go. There's no two ways about it. The guy's got to go.
Time's on our side on that one.
Yeah,
I hate to say that, but
it's true.
All right, let's talk about these riots here. And first, before we get into it, I want to. A guy that's really disappointed me. I consider him in the Never Trump camp. And there's a very good article about Never Trumpers in the Conservative Treehouse. It's not one of the newer ones. You have to scroll down a little bit. But it basically tells them it's about, and it's going to take me a while to get Neil Gorsuch, I think his name is. Is that it? The Supreme Court nominee?
Oh, yeah.
I think that's his name.
Mm-hmm.
It's about Trump finally nominating him. And Sundance basically says, no, Never Trumpers, you had nothing to do with this. You were against this. You tried to stop this. This is not your victory.
Mm-hmm.
And Jonah Goldberg, this thing with Milo, I want you to listen to this clip.
Oh.
He gets a lot of it right. But I want you to listen to what he says about Milo Yiannopoulos. It kind of ticked me off, and it's sad that Goldberg went down so far, but all right, let's listen, then I want to talk about it.
There is supposed to be protection for the things that offend us, that we don't like, but that seems to be getting lost here. Do you think this is truly people who are upset about what Milo would have to say, or are these people, like we saw during the inauguration in Washington, who are anarchists who just want to seize on any kind of opening to wreak havoc, to create instability?
Yeah, look, I mean, not to get too deep into Batman movies, but some people just want to see the world burn. And I think that's what a lot of these guys are actually about. I think Milo is on cloud nine. He courts this kind of stuff. He feeds on it. He gets much more national exposure. He has a parasitic relationship with these mobs. I'm sure he's just delighted by all of it. But what I'm outraged by is, first of all, one arrest? There should have been paddy wagons full of these people. When you break property, you use Molotov cocktails, you aim fireworks at police, they should all be arrested. It should be a zero tolerance. Everyone says, we need safe spaces and zero tolerance for this and zero tolerance for that. Well, how about zero tolerance for people with sledgehammers destroying property and threatening people's personal safety?
So Milo Yiannopoulos of the Dangerous Faggot Tour has a parasitical relationship with the mobs. I mean, come on, Jonah.
Yeah, you're right that he did get a lot right on that, and it infuriates me how some, and they've mostly been the Never Trumpers that I've heard come out about Milo and what happened at Berkeley, as if because he says shocking and outrageous things, somehow, he's loving every minute of the riots being started there at Berkeley. And yes, to a degree, he is more popular today than he was yesterday. But to discount him and make him sound as if he has nothing of substance to add to the conversation really drives me crazy. And I think a lot of people who consider themselves morally superior, like Jonah Goldberg, like this jerk that's on my Facebook feed right now, God, and I've forgotten his name now. It's complete, but I've gone back and forth with him today, and I used to like him, but you turn into a Never Trumper and the Ben Howes of the world, and they've lost all sense of humor, and they have such a moral superiority to them that they are clutching their pearls over everything that Milo says. And I will tell you all, I understand why some people disagree with the things that he says. And I understand if you're a Christian, you are probably extremely offended by some of the things that he says. But if you get past the shocking rhetoric that he speaks about, if you get past that when he's talking about his homosexual relationships and you listen to what that man says, he speaks a lot of hard truth about what's going on in America today and how it compares to his country and how much he doesn't want to see this happen in our country. And he is reaching kids in college at their level, and he is the only one on the right who has ever even attempted to go into that place and try and get them to think about things in a different manner. But the problem is that the people on the left don't want to have a conversation because they can't have a conversation because they lose on facts every single time. And what they determine as hate speech from Milo is a lot of the time fact-based, and they can't debate it, so they instead burn things down and riot and try and shut down free speech.
Well, I'll tell you, I've met the man, and a couple things about him. If he didn't say the sexually graphic stuff that he says, I'd be 100% with him. That part I don't like. But I'll tell you what, you meet the guy, he's hard not to like.
I know, he's adorable.
He's a great guy, and I'll tell you something else. If he went out in a riot, he could probably handle himself. He's about 6'4". He's a big dude.
He is a big dude. And people who, and especially people on the right, Dan Joseph, that's that jerk's name on my Facebook page, who
I used to like him too.
God, they went Never Trump.
I even interviewed him.
They go, have you noticed that? They go Never Trump, and they just sound like liberals. They sound like these miserable people all the time, and he's just clutching his pearls over it. And I hate to break it to everyone, I clutched my pearls when George Bush felt like he had to go on the late night television shows, but I had to get over it. Our culture has devolved so greatly that sometimes you have to approach people of different generations in a different way. And it was really hard for me to accept that difference. I just looked at it as stupid, and that we are really compromising our principles. And, I think a lot of the Never Trumpers look at that, Hutch, and they say, we don't want to stoop to their level. Well, if you don't stoop to their level and fight them the way they're fighting us, we're going to continue to lose. And we can't afford to lose anymore.
Anybody else that was on that stage would have got their ass handed to them.
Yep.
On both of the stages.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody in Congress would have got their asses handed to them. We got lucky. We dodged a bullet.
We did
dodge. Somebody came out. And he could change things around to make it where it's not like this anymore. There's a good article in the American Thinker about that. I almost put it on the show. But anyway, that's another story. Let's talk about this Berkeley a little bit. Now, I'm gonna blow up the conventional wisdom here. Mm-hmm. And the reason I'm going to do that is because I watched a special report tonight, and I was watching the panel, and they were setting everybody up to, what do you think about this Berkeley thing and Donald Trump's tweet about taking federal money away from him. And the liberal guy got on there and changed my mind because he was real intimate. He knew exactly what happened. And he said, what happened was, he said, what do you think about Donald Trump? He said, I think Donald Trump owes UC Berkeley an apology. And I'll tell you why. Because the college Republicans got with the administration of the college and got permission to have this free event and security for Milo Yiannopoulos. The school set up a safe zone area for the students to protest, which they were, protesting peacefully, and 150 dudes showed up wearing black and wrecked the place. That's George Soros' freaking soldiers. Uh-huh. And I'm telling you, they need to start killing them. They need to start, because they're the same people that were in D.C., they're the same people that were in Chicago, the same people at Aldi and Ferguson and everywhere else. These people, you see them every time. They're young, they're in black clothes, they got black bandanas over their face, and they tear shit up. And they beat people up. And they're starting to get more violent. I don't know if they're getting paid a little bit more now or what, but that's what's got to be hunted down. Those are the people. I'm watching this thing, and I'm after I heard that, and I'm thinking college students don't do that. There's no war. I mean, if there was a war, like during Vietnam, and they were, and let's be honest on what that was, they were afraid to go to war. Mm-hmm. So they're burning. I could see that, but not right now. These guys were bust in, Stacey.
Yeah, and I agree with you on that. And I think when you look at the way the ones who were causing the issues, and the same thing in D.C., they were dressed exactly the same, and they pretty much went to the same type of situation, right? Throwing things through windows, causing all this physical damage. And they did show the kids, they had some feedback or some news feed today showing the college kids that were protesting, but they were doing it civilly. Now, with that said, and I agree with you, because I do think this is a very organized type of situation that needs to be stopped. And they have to be arrested. The thing that frustrates me about Berkeley is that they only arrested, from what I understand, one person with all of that damage that was done, one person, and they have to hold these people accountable, the ones who are coming out and really just trying to create a an uproar. And the college and these students need to understand and see what's going on so that maybe they can open their minds to the truth. But I get a little frustrated with it, because part of me, Hutch, thanks from watching CNN before we came on board, is that the left, who is not, necessarily a part of the crazy left, they know how bad the optics were at UC Berkeley, and they're trying to, blame it on these few anarchists and try and distance themselves from those anarchists. And they are one and the same, though. They are closely related to the Democrat Party, and they're trying to use that to kind of distance themselves, and that bothers me a little bit.
Yeah, I agree. I think the next time something happens, and you can blame it on UC Berkeley, but you could also blame it on the city. The real government, should have had some protection. I mean, I'd like to see horses and water cannons out there.
Did y'all know? Did you know that one of the Soros kids is a PhD candidate at UC Berkeley?
No, I didn't know that. I know one of his kids works for him.
He is. And so just a little tidbit of fact there when we're talking about, these same people coming into these various locations. So just a little more of a link there to Soros.
And don't forget that Janet Napolitano's the head hog.
And I thought she was dead. How sad is that? It's the other one, Reno. They kept saying it, and I wanted to tweet y'all. She's dead, but she's not dead. Sorry.
805. What's your name and where are you calling from?
This is Rocky from California.
Hey, Rocky.
Well,
what's on your mind?
Milo gave a speech about 15 miles away from me the other night at Cal Poly San Luis Obispo, and there were about a dozen protesters, maybe 2 dozen, and it really wasn't a big deal. And then the next night, everything blows up in Berkeley because that's just kind of the way they are. So
took them a while to assemble the troops.
really, I think it's more of a Berkeley thing than anything for California, because even though man, you should look up some of the videos. They had some of those little Antifa guys trying to light flags on fire, and they couldn't even do that right.
Oh yeah, I know Berkeley's no patriotic gem. I know that.
No, they're not filled with manly men.
Yeah, we do have good people in California, and even if they're more leaning to the left, they're not stupid like they are in Berkeley. So.
No, I know they're not. Hey, running out of time here, Rocky. Thanks for calling.
Yep. Thanks.
Sean, another call from California. What's going on?
Not much, man. I'm just, I'm shocked to hear about this Berkeley thing. I agree with you. These George Soros soldiers need to be shot. They're treasonous in every way, and you know what? They're just trying to elevate the problems in California to get a response out of Trump. And here's the thing: California is the most strategic importance of military asset. So I wouldn't be surprised if Trump said, "Okay, you know what? Here's the military bases there, and send the troops in and kick out all these people."
Treat them as terrorists.
I'd love to see that happen.
Get them on a list and start following them, and walk it all the way up to Soros and charge him with a RICO offense.
Don't forget you need to go after his son too. You have the son.
I heard about that too. Yes, sir. Hey, thanks for calling.
No problem.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, you're listening to Cold War Radio with Stacey Rush and Hutch Bailey Jr. Another thing that happened, and another one of our stellar cabinet members, although I don't even think the DHS should be in existence, but now that it is, General Kelly is running that and says that the border wall is going to be started in a couple months and it will be finished in 2 years. How is that refreshing to hear the government's actually going to do something it said it was going to do?
Well, given that they have legislation passed to build the wall 10 years ago.
Yeah, 2006.
It's nice to see that it's only going to take 2 years. But what cracks me up is listening to pundits on the left talk about, but we're going to have to pay for it, not Mexico. Well, you know what? Who cares who pays for it? Build the wall.
That'll pay for itself.
Oh, my God.
No question. And then the next thing we're going to have to do is build one in the north.
Yeah.
That's just something that we're going to have to. They're already shifting. Canada's horrible. I got an A radio. I did get your story. Let me fit it in here if I can remember. They're having a problem with violence in Toronto and Ontario, with Muslim violence from refugees. And all the headlines, when you go to look at the headlines, they're all, we have a horrible Islamophobia problem in Canada. They're blaming the victims.
Isn't it just sickening to see that and to see what's happening in all of these countries that have welcomed Muslims in with open arms, and you have Sharia court laws in UK that just approved an honor killing of 2 children because they refused to marry one another in an agreed marriage. I mean, this is what they want to have come to our country. It just makes absolutely no sense to me.
The level of stupidity, and it's not even stupidity, the level of ignorance. Nobody will go study what these people are and what their plans are. I mean, I'm telling you, I would urge everybody to go to steelcityresistance.blogspot.com. There's a reply. It's the second post on the website. There's 2. There's a featured one in the right-hand column that's 10 Arabic words that every American needs to know. And then there's a rebuttal to a guy that told me I was crazy and we got to quit hating on Islam or the conservative movement will never go anywhere. And I started that off by saying I don't give a damn about the conservative movement. There's no such thing to me. They failed. And I explained what I meant when I wrote it, and show all the different instances of conservatives totally betraying their country, trying to destroy Donald Trump. I mean, people that people that are in cabinet positions right now have done that. But hopefully we'll get it all cleaned up. But it's something that you gotta understand what you're talking about. You can't if you give Islam the moral equivalency of any other religion, you're wrong. I mean, it's just not. That's not what Islam is. And I've said it several times. Islam is a political system, a very tyrannical, misogynistic political system with laws for you, the non-Muslim. So if you want to live with that, that's something that I don't ascribe to. I'm not putting up with it, and I'm not going to be quiet about it either.
Yeah.
It's something that.
No. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. I'm done.
No, I've just. Sometimes I get so speechless when I think about, all of these leftists, especially the people in Hollywood, having their Muslim hijab day and solidarity with, women being oppressed. And I think to myself, it's got to be so nice to live in your little pampered and privileged world and tell us what the rest of us are going to have to live with, because you don't have to live with any of it. And they're just making me absolutely insane that they do not understand what it is that they are basically begging us to have and bring into our country.
And I mean, the history's there. There's history. There's history in the United States, but there's more history in Sweden. I mean, you look at what happened in Sweden. You look at England and Rotherham. 1,200 women raped girls.
Yes.
In grooming camps by the Pakistanis, and they won't even call them that. They call them students.
And how can they be so backwards and stupid? This is what I don't understand. Like, you're up in arms about a temporary ban so that we can protect our women and children and honestly all of us who are not Muslim from being targeted by Muslims.
And even the ones that aren't Muslim enough.
Exactly.
I mean, it's bad. Stacey, we're out of time. How can people get in touch with you on social media?
Yeah, thanks for having me on, Hutch. And you all have a great evening this evening. You guys can reach me at Discovering Me 40 on Twitter, and I'm at The Right Rush on Gab.
Well, thanks for coming, Stacey. We always look forward to it. I'm Hutch Bailey Jr. on Facebook, Bird's Eye View on Twitter. Thanks to everybody for listening live tonight. And if you're listening to the podcast, we love you too. There's a lot of you out there. Don't forget to get the app, the Wayne Dupree program, coming up next at 9 p.m. on RSBN, Spreaker, and now the CRN Digital Talk Network on Channel 1. That plays at 11 p.m. Eastern Time. I already told you who I was. Appreciate you coming. Thanks for letting us into your life for 1 hour. Catch Steel City Resistance on Sunday, I think. A couple more days to vote in that poll. God bless. Jacob Seals, ladies and gentlemen, never lose faith.